NewGenGamers.com.
Alright, welcome everyone. We continue on here. This is NHL Power Play 96.
If you watched our previous video that led into this one, I was talking about Tiburon making the Madden games, and they did not do the original ones. Visual Concepts did, and Visual Concepts would come back and end up being a publisher, or being a developer that worked with Sega on the 2K series of sports games, and then they did that with Take-Two eventually. So it's kind of interesting how they originally made Madden and then ended up, creating the competing product.
Yeah, that's interesting that they were one of the original developers, and people still consider Visual Concepts sports games better than the Madden ones at times, like 2005. I guess it just depends on your preference on those.
Yeah, those games were very close comparatively in quality.
Yes, I'm taking the Pittsburgh Penguins here. This was back when they had Mario Lemieux. And this is basically a Stanley Cup playoff game.
Alright, so do you want to go into the lore and history of this system a little bit?
Yeah, the Saturn has a very jaded history. It all started out back in 94 when Sega president Harumo Nakamura, I believe was his name. He went to the American team and told them to have a console out by Christmas of 94. That console ended up being the ill-fated 32X.
So it had to be, from the time they found out about it, it needed to be on the store shelves in less than a year.
Now the downside of that was they didn't bother to tell the American team that this console, the Saturn, was already being worked on in Japan. So, essentially, they had both consoles being worked on at the same time.
Simultaneously developing two different systems that did a lot of the same things and would essentially be competing against one another. Not the best business move that I think Sega probably could have made. I don't even know why they bothered with the 32X. Like, in any way, I don't understand what the theory behind that thing was.
I really couldn't tell you, because
Did they just think Sonic and Knuckles was really cool and that they should make a system that way, or what? I don't get it. There was nothing really to gain for them besides extending the life of the Genesis. But they had pretty much, considered it dead since they were making all their games for 32X and Saturn. I don't know.
Yeah, it really kind of caught everyone off guard when the 32X came out, and then they were talking about making the Saturn, so most developers weren't paying attention to 32X development. And the ones that...
With the Saturn being the CD-based standalone system...
it seemed like a stronger choice to take, because they basically got the dev kits around the same time.
Yeah, developers had a choice to make, and a lot of them either went with the Saturn or went elsewhere, is what ended up happening. So, okay, the 32X comes to market in less than a year. They pulled it off and they got the thing on the store shelves. And so
they say the Saturn's still in production. It's not going anywhere. So the Japanese arm of Sega launches the Saturn in Japan, and then sees the PlayStation looming on the horizon. It's already released in Japan. It's getting big numbers, and they're thinking, okay, we've got to get this console out. So they had already set a launch day and even gave it a little moniker of Saturn Day. It was supposed to be September 5th of 1995. Okay, so they were going to launch it then. But at the E3 conference in May, they came out and said, okay, you know that new Saturn? It's out. Yeah, you can go buy one today. It was a surprise launch.
Again,
why do you do that?
Sega is insane. We just have to put our face in our palm and go, What was there to gain by that? Sure, they were out on the marketplace a little quicker, but there was no anticipation, there was no build-up. It was just kind of, there it is, and no one wanted to pay $400 for it.
Well, here's the other downside to that, is that they didn't actually tell the other developers that they were changing the release date, and there were only 2 games. So they basically launched the hardware with nothing to play on it.
Except a couple games from Sega.
Yeah.
So, again, not the best thing to possibly do.
And with launching this so quickly after the 32X, it just confused people.
Yeah, they were essentially competing with their own product. And
not to mention the Super Nintendo hadn't stopped selling.
Yeah, a lot of bad things happening all at one time to Sega here. They were bleeding in every orifice that they could possibly bleed out of, and it was not pretty.
Sega Saturn, the most powerful, the most technologically advanced game system anywhere.
Yeah.
Sega Saturn is the newest and most indulgent taste temptation from Sega, delivering crystal clear digital video and rich, creamy 3D graphics. And each unit is topped off with a delicious DSP chip dedicated to scrumptious CD quality sound. This gourmet meal from Sega goes oh so well with all of these yummy, mouth-watering titles. NHL All-Star Hockey, Clockwork Knight, Daytona, USA. Worldwide Soccer.
Sega Saturn!
Incoming!
Go farther than you have ever gone before. Sega Saturn. Play your games in the 21st century and leave the rest of the world behind.
Thank you for your attention. Now it's time to explore your inner realm. Open your brain and look inside. Prepare to enter the theater of the eye.
NewGenGamers.com